For everyone that is joining us, welcome to My Be More. What's the 410? My name is Dion Joyner Williams. It's like a tribe called Quest. You have to say it all together. I am very excited to be here with the one, the only Adam Jackson. Now, before we get into this conversation, let me do a formal setup. Uh, My Be More project, we're just standing in the middle, standing in the gap of the information, the news that you can use, and the positive stories that we need for our spirits. Um, and Audacity Group, we are the voice of the lions. The proverb is, until the lion learns to speak, every story will always glorify the hunter. So how do we ensure that the everyday person who really does care, but they are inundated with work, children, real life, how do they get the information that they need as quickly as possible and in layman's terms? So we're here with Adam Jackson, who is the CEO of Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, founded in 2010. He is a man that wakes up every morning thinking about how to push for the Black community, making sure that we're involved in the policy making, and that our youth are watching what we do so they can be the heroes that we are looking for. So in jumping into this, Adam, I have a question for you. Oh, I forgot I had like 10 questions. Oh, hold on.
Yep.
This is what I like about, because this is on the go. Because, not everybody can be like sitting in front of a computer all day. So thank you, sir, for, picking up the phone. All right. So
Absolutely.
we're just going to do a nice little speed round for the people that are walking past you on the street. Texting or talking?
Texting.
Crab cake, fried or boiled?
Neither, because I'm allergic.
Oh, that's
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
It's terrible.
I feel like I'm in mourning. Okay, all right. Hugo, favorite city in the United States besides Baltimore?
Detroit.
Detroit. All right. What's the nickname your parents called you?
Mr. Pumpkinhead.
Okay. How long does it take for you to get ready?
A solid 30.
Solid 30.
A solid 30.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. What's a talent that people will be surprised that Adam has?
Um, what is a talent? Do I have one? And it may not be a surprise. I build websites and I do that pretty well. So people may not know that about me.
So there we go. Just to note for any of our entrepreneurs, our social entrepreneurs that are trying to figure things out, Adam is here to provide website support. All right. If you could hang out with any animated character, who would it be? Cartoon?
Mm, who would I hang out with? Probably Magneto.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Last question. What high school did you go to?
Digital Harbor.
Digital Harbor. All right. So, Adam, let's jump into this. This is what I heard. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I heard, and then you can tell me how awfully wrong I am, and we can all get on the same
Exactly.
page. So I understand that there is an act that Maryland passed, an act that it takes a taxation off of the sale of cannabis. And as a result of that act, it was noted that commissions, or every county was responsible for creating a commission in order to determine how that tax dollars are used, and that right now the commission is not, we've approved it, but it is not in action right now. So we're like, oh well, now this is a really great time to understand what it is and what we should be prepared for. What does that look like? So take it away, Adam.
Absolutely. So, so generally, in terms of the approach and the concept, I think you're spot on. I can actually go into a bit more detail for the listening audience. But actually, I think it might be a good place to start to talk about reparations in general, because I think a lot of people think different things when we're talking about reparations. And I think there's a lot of assumptions made about what people mean when they say it, because oftentimes we're in conversations about reparations and people mean different things. So I want to make sure, I think it'd be good to start there because for people who are listening, so you're clear when we say
Okay.
reparations, what we mean and, what it's not.
Thank you.
So, so first, just as a general piece, one of the things that oftentimes happens when we talk about reparations, people talk about it repairing damage done, in many cases, like for slavery. In this case, we're talking about the war on drugs. And what oftentimes happens, and when we're talking about reparations, is investment in social services for Black people. And that's usually what people jump to. They talk about social services, repairing the pathology, repairing what's wrong with Black people. And part of the reason that's wrong is that number one, it's internalized inferiority because that means that we're starting with investing in what's and stopping what's wrong with Black people. Then it means that we're automatically assuming that there's something wrong with Black people that needs to be fixed. And when we talk about reparations in other communities and other contexts, we're talking about investing in their institutions, in their civil society. So if you were talking about reparations in another community, you would say, well, let's invest in their banking system. Let's invest in their community institutions. Let's invest in their businesses and companies so that their entire community can thrive and rise. But oftentimes what happens with Black people is Black people are broken. We need to fix them and money will fix it. And so interrogating why we start there in terms of what reparations means for a lot of people is very important. The second piece is what it means to receive resources that we call reparations, what the goal should be. Because sometimes what happens is people get hung up in the conversation about what reparations is, like, well, is it a check? How does it come to me?
Yeah, yeah.
And which is a valid question, but what people sometimes associate with reparations being successful is if individual people thrive, if individual people do well. If I'm able to get $1 million check from the government that says that Adam can now do what he wants to
Got it.
do, then that's good. But at best, that's harm reduction. That's not liberation. That's not freedom. That's not independence. That's not sovereignty. And so, what we encourage people to think about with reparations is that reparations should be an investment in Black people's ability to be independent of communities and to be able to be sustainable on our own. And most of us, when we think about that, probably don't even have the kind of imagination where we can truly imagine Black people not needing other folks to survive, other communities to survive. And so, and I think because of that, there's such a limited understanding of what it means to get reparations. So I feel like to start there, and understand that reparations is a Pan-African call. It comes out of very particular political, social, and cultural tradition. That it's not just about writing checks to people. That a large component of it is an investment in Black people's ability to be independent and sovereign in a white supremacist society, and that we do not have to. It is not inevitable that we live on the plantation. So those two things I think are very important, just as a frame,
Yep.
because I think when people hear reparations, and especially when it's tied to something specific, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get paid, and then we gonna invest in more social services for Black people, and that's gonna fix everything, and that's not the case.
Or just to be fair, for on my side, if you are audacious about doing good, I'm thinking about finally I can have the money that I need in order to do for my, and because that's where Dion got pumped. But I'm happy about the clarification. But go deeper, like, so in understanding that, what is this commission is going to be the one responsible for putting that structure in place of stating where this is going to go. What,
So
what,
so
what type of committee is
so
that?
so just to give a bit of context, so
Okay.
one of the reasons why we decided to focus on reparations for cannabis, for the war on drugs, and through the cannabis legalization, is that we understood several years ago that cannabis legalization was inevitable. It was going to happen no matter what. And so there have been other states around the country that have implemented some version of reparations or reparative justice or social equity fund in other states. And by and large, they have either failed or fallen short. And so several years ago, we decided we were going to advocate, like, I think back in like about 2015, as when we started just this idea about reparations for the war on drugs as a starting point. And so just recently, last year, last Maryland General Assembly, when cannabis
Right.
became legal, We that was a part of the legislation was the creation of the Community Reinvestment and Repair Fund at the state level.
Let me
It's,
ask you this, Adam. Am I right? I heard that they were approximating that within the first year of cannabis being legal, that they could reap $400 million.
that's about right. That's about
Okay,
right. And then a portion, and then each. So that's like how much tax revenue I believe
got it.
that's going to be generated. And so part of the reinvestment fund, what it does is that it allocates resources from that fund to each jurisdiction based on the arrests that have happened for possession.
Okay, all right.
And so
Uh-huh.
obviously Baltimore, Baltimore
Right.
County, Montgomery County, PG County, these are majority black districts targeted by the war on drugs. So those jurisdictions would be the ones to receive most of those resources. And so, because of that, that's so we kind of have a general sense of how much money is going to go to which district because we've seen the projections. But
Okay.
to that part you just asked about, though, what the legislation did at the state level is that it gave each jurisdiction the opportunity to create its own commission. So the state did. There's no centralized state. Like Maryland does not just have one commission that determines where all those resources go. Each jurisdiction has to pass a local ordinance, a local law that
Okay.
establishes its own commission. So Baltimore was the first. Baltimore was the first jurisdiction to do that several months ago. And so now there will be, and in Baltimore, what that means is each Baltimore City Council district will have a commissioner that will be on the commission, and then the resources from the state will be allocated to that commission. But now, when the stage now, we're figuring out how all those, what's the machinery, like what's the actual bureaucratic process that would track how those resources go from the state to the local government, and then the commission would determine how the allocations are made. In short.
So, are there is do you know, and if this is not the question for you, please note. Um, are can citizens be a part of that commission? Like, is there any like mandatories for representation on these commissions? Just curious.
Yeah, that was the actual purpose of it. So the purpose, so there's like, I believe the legislation actually has a list of like requirements, but the requirements are pretty loose. Most essential is that people are residents and that they are very intimately familiar with Baltimore's political landscape and social landscape, those kinds of things. But the reason why we decided to do it by each district, as opposed to it being just appointed by the mayor, is that it being in a person's district gives as a regular resident the most ability to be able to contact
Okay.
their elected official and to be on that commission. So yeah, so anybody who lives in a city council district could be eligible to be on the commission.
Okay. So for everyone that is listening here, Adam, would you mind repeating this? Because this is like, okay, my cousin just turned on her phone real quick, and
Mhm.
she picked up just this little nugget, and she's about to run off. So I'm like, let's frame it one more time for folks.
So the short version is that Baltimore City has through a local law created its own reparations commission. And so, because now that commission has been established by law, there needs to be a commissioner from each Baltimore City Council district. And so, if you're a person who lives in Baltimore and just in one of those districts, then the law gives you the ability to advocate to be on the commission or to tell other folks to apply to be on the commission. That's what the law does.
All right. So again, this is on the go, not keeping you forever, but for people to get the water cooler. Because imagine all the crap you hear around the water cooler.
Hmm.
Wouldn't it be good to get some information that you could actually use? So this is being able to fill
Oh
that
yeah.
space. So I wanted to ask you, um, once once you start taxing something that guys on the corner were doing as a part of their
Hmm.
business, what are the ripple effects that we're not seeing? Like, to me, that would mean, okay, well, not saying y'all cut in, but now that that Maryland and there's a stake in this, what job opportunities do I now have when this was, for good or for better or worse, this
Hmm.
was how I got through. This is how I got by. Now y'all Got it. Is that being factored?
Well, as far as so for us, we were focused on the tax revenue specifically. The business side of things, there's been other organizations, other groups that have been more active on the business side because there's been a lot of, I mean, what you just asked, there's been a lot of concern from folks about, especially since cannabis has been legalized, about what does it mean for the person who's like a street pharmacist who was previously selling cannabis and now it's legal and it could potentially cut into their sales. And one of the things that we've always said is that, well, those same people should have the opportunity to be a part of the industry and to be able
Right.
to get the resource to establish their own dispensaries, etc. One of the criticisms that we had early on during when medical marijuana became legal was that the amount of capital that you needed to even
Be.
start
Hmm.
with a growery, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, to grow marijuana, you needed about at least $1 million net worth. And so obviously that cut a lot of people out. And so
From the
people were very upset
beginning.
about it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So part of it, so we've been advocating for that, that people should, that there should be lots of opportunity for folks to get investment in starting their own companies and their own businesses in the cannabis industry. But we've been way more active on the tax revenue side of things.
So, okay, not to do hearsay, but based on your lived experience, because this is what Dion's argument is, there is no problem or challenge that Baltimore is not capable of fixing and probably has, but we're just not communicating or trusting each other enough to dive
Mhm.
in. So with that, based on your experience, what should we be keeping our eyes open for, or what type of questions should we start asking ourselves as it relates to this to this change? Because I'm all about storytelling. This eviscerated the Black community, the war on drugs. Any any semblance of a Black family that we had forged together literally got wiped out.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
now there is an opportunity to change this around and talk about what we're going to receive from this, what we can do from this, what our future is going to be. So I'm asking two parts: narrative change. How do you think this changes the narrative? How should we take advantage of this to change the narrative? And I forgot what the second question was, but it'll come back to me. So go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of narrative change, one of the most important parts about that, I think, is a part of what I said earlier. When we talk about reparations, it's about Black people controlling the levers of power and the institutions that govern our daily lives and being able to transform our material conditions without the intervention of others. Because oftentimes I think we think so much in terms of how Black people are downtrodden. We don't have access to the things that we need to change our condition, and that we need others to help us in the process of doing that. And a lot of that narrative thus far, all that's really done is entrenched us
Mm-hmm.
in internalized Black inferiority. It's made us believe that we can't do anything without the intervention of white people, essentially. And that the only way to really succeed as Black people is that if each of us get our own bag and go on to make our own money and do so at the expense of Black people. So a big part of the narrative change has to be that when we talk about this, an investment in Black people, we need to see it as the opposite. Not harm reduction and not changing what's wrong with Black people, but instead investing what we know to be brilliant about Black people and all the institutions in our community that we know exist, that if there was more investment in the civic institutions, the civic formations, then we would see material changes. And that we are in fact, behind enemy lines. We are currently living on the plantation,
Mm-hmm.
and that there will be resistance to us doing that. But as long as we stay focused on that approach, that Black people don't need other folks to survive, we have all we need in our own community, and that in fact we invest the resources that we have at our disposal in the right direction, then we can change our condition no matter what. And I think that can kind of get us out of the doom and gloom because I feel like that's what happens. We get
I
all
know.
in our in the doom and gloom. But the thing is, I feel like I spend so much time with Black people who are literally the opposite, who make Baltimore City a place that I love and care about, that I love talking about all the time. Because when people talk trash about Baltimore, It's like
You,
you don't even know the half. You don't even know.
uh-huh. Don't get me started. Um, So, Adam, last part here, if give any shout outs, and when I say shout outs, it's almost like, don't you know when you purchase something and someone's like, and if you enjoyed this movie, you will also like da 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 da.
Hmm.
For people who are trying to get engaged, um, because it can be for some, it could be difficult.
Hmm.
Some people they should follow, some nonprofits or grassroots organizations they should look into, anything that's coming up that they should participate in. Just feel free to just throw some love.
Oh, absolutely. So if you're a person, one thing that I know people talk about is violence prevention and violence in Baltimore.
Yes.
And if you're a person who wants to get involved with violence prevention, I highly suggest We Are Us. You can find them on all social media. We Are Us Movement, I believe, is their Instagram.
Yep.
You can find the Baltimore Peace Movement. You can find them on all social media, run by Erica Bridgeford, Leatrice Gant, and a few other folks, dope folks.
Dope.
You can also do Let's Thrive Baltimore, run by Sister Lisa Moloch. You could also follow and support uh, Baltimore Brothers, run by Captain Andrew Muhammad. These are all people who every day work to stop the scourge of violence in our community that intervene and mediate conflict. These people could use your money. That you could use. They could use your support. I know that We Are Us actually has a youth summit coming up soon. So if you have young people who you are interested in getting involved, go to that. And outside of that, there's plenty of, I mean, that's just violence prevention. I could go on all day. I could
How
just,
about getting in contact with understanding that you are following or LBS, you are a Black think tank
hmm.
that is dedicated to this. So I would give the personal shout out again to follow Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, just to be as a great North Star.
Oh, there's always us. You can always follow us. You know, I, because, well, for people, well, I mentioned all those folks because I know that there may be some people watching this that may
Absolutely.
hear that may hear reparations and be like, that's cool. You do that, but I may be interested in other things. So if you're interested in violence prevention, those are great folks. If you're interested in political advocacy, LBS, that's what we do. And so, like Dion mentioned, we're a think tank. We've been around since 2010. And so, right now, we're actually in the middle of the 2024 Maryland General Assembly. That's the time of year where all the state elected officials are passing legislation at the state level. And so, this year, there's a bunch of things we're working on, some of which is related to reparations, but a lot of it is actually defending the criminal justice reform efforts that we've made over the last like 6 or 7 years. And so you can follow us on all social media. I see somebody put me on the chat. LBS Baltimore. You can find
Oh,
us at LBS Baltimore. And I know there's actually people on my Instagram because I usually go live a lot. I used to, and so I know people like Adams live on Instagram. But
this is cool. And the thing is, so I have known you, Adam, and I know that you're actually on the go. And if you want to shout out where you are, because the thing is, this is an opportunity to connect people to places, experiences, things that they don't know about. And where are you, if you could share?
oh yeah, so I'm actually on Washington Boulevard. You can actually, I'm just like standing outside, literally on Washington Boulevard. And the place I'm
Might
actually
be
at is
more.
it's a black-owned business called Swill. And so it's actually a really great cafe with a lot of black art inside. Really great black woman named Heather owns the spot. Shout out to her.
Hey,
Um,
Heather. Will
and
we
so
see you soon?
it's actually a really dope spot. I think people should come and look it up. You can look it up on Google Maps. Just look up Swill and Pigtown, Southwest Baltimore. And I came out. I'm actually this event I'm at is actually with Brother Lester Spence from Johns Hopkins University. We're talking about some of the same issues
Come
here tonight.
on.
So you know.
On that note, this is what hashtag might be more is about, collaboration, talking, putting ego aside, because again, there is enough lived experience. Baltimore, and Adam, we've had this conversation. I view it as the social impact capital of the world.
Hmm.
There is we are like the Wakanda of like of what is needed to solve all of the states
That's
United
right.
States ills, which is why, which I'm like, please believe me, because don't you understand it? If that's the truth, wouldn't you want them to feel bad about themselves? Wouldn't you want them to feel fear? Like, so I'm like, guys, this is the reason. So let's this is our year. I the governor has stated that, this is Baltimore's time, but I've made it clear we won't be able to reap the benefit if we're going at this individually.
Hmm.
It's not going to happen.
Hmm.
So on that note, any final words, Adam, before I put on my little baby? I love this song. No, so
Wait.
get this.
What is this? What song is this? My
All
Little
right,
Baby. That's
so
what's called.
it's a bigger picture.
Bigger picture.
All right, so get this. So Sean, my oldest, right?
Hmm.
He came to me and he was like, "Mommy, you know, got this little baby song. Fine." He puts it on, and I'm
Oh,
listening,
Little
and
Baby. I was saying Little Baby. Who's Little Baby?
little,
Like little. You mean little?
little,
Like Little Baby?
little.
I'm like child, tiny child. Or you mean Little Baby? Oh, Little Baby. Okay, baby. Okay. I was
For
so
real?
confused.
You go.
No, 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 no,
Now
no,
that
no,
you
no.
got
I just was
the
confused.
410, are you good? Now that you got the 410, you good? You good?
Yep, yep, yep.
Uh, but so do you know the song then? It's by Lil Baby.
I don't think I don't listen to him, but
All right, and that's the thing. So so one, his documentary, and for everyone that's on here, this is how we're going to end off our live. As a tribe, like, we have got to be able to be more comfortable with each other, because that's when we'll be able to get to the real issues. That at the heart of our problems, it's race and poverty. Those are not easy lifts. But if we can go into it with an open heart and with understanding people's intentions, it makes for solutions.
that's right.
But I just want to shout this out. So it's called The Bigger Picture, Lil Baby. I I saw a documentary of his, and it was really fascinating just to see his life. So I love documentaries, biopics, things like that. But this song, the fact that my son wanted me to hear it and to know that this seems like more of an anthem of what we can do when we come together, and the lyrics and the message was not the first thing that I was expecting. And it was because my son thought that I would appreciate it that me feel
Mm.
it made me embrace it more. So listen to the song and text me after.
The
Let me know.
bigger
The
picture.
bigger
Okay,
picture.
I'm gonna look it up.
On that note, everyone, as they say, if you can't be good, be careful.
See you.